Oh boy, that is quite powerful. Now, when visualizing an airflow, then using smoke is an effective way. But not everyone wants a huge smoke machine sitting on their workbench. And that is why I was happy when I found this mini smoke machine on AliExpress, which at first sight seems to work pretty well. And in case you don't know, AliExpress is a Chinese online store where you can find the newest, weirdest and sometimes super useful products. But since you never exactly know whether a product is truly useful or simply garbage, I created this video series. And today we will be once again having a closer look at 6 more fascinating products, so that I can tell you at the end whether you should check them out or stay away from them. Let's get started!
This video is sponsored by Boot.dev, and this is already the 3rd time partnering with them, because I really think they offer tons of value. Because the problem is that when you're into electronics, then sooner or later you will have to get comfortable with programming. And boredom is usually what makes people quit learning that. Boot.dev is built to fix that. It teaches backend development the hands-on way, with Python, SQL, Go and way more, while feeling like an RPG, meaning you earn XP, level and achievements, which makes you keep coming back. And the best thing is that they recently launched the training grounds, where you can grind infinite challenges until the concepts actually stick. If that sounds like your cup of tea, then you can read and watch a lot of the content for free. And if you want to commit, then go to boot.dev and use my code GreatScott to get 25% off your first year. Or scan the QR code here, or use the link in the video description. And if you're not happy, then you can use the 30-day refund period. Happy learning! Now let's start with a bang, or more specifically, this aerosol fire extinguishing device that you can get for around €8. Not that expensive. I got interested in it because my big solar battery here also comes with a similar technology that will hopefully save my garage when things go sideways. So I was simply curious how this extinguishing method works, and to learn more about that, I firstly opened up the housing and was greeted by pretty much only an aluminium covered bowl with a fuse attached. Now I honestly didn't want to mess with this thing too much, because even though it is apparently not pressurized, I didn't want to risk an ignition. And in case you didn't notice yet, it is made to be put into an electrical box to prevent fires in there. And it seems to put them out chemically by killing the flame's reaction partners like oxygen. So with all the theory out of the way, I wanted to conduct a small experiment with this electrical box and this pretty safe to use flame gel here. After putting both the fuse and gel in there and lighting the gel, nothing really happened for around 5 minutes. Yeah, it seems like the fuse has to be pretty close to the flame, which pretty quickly did the trick and let the extinguishing device explode kind of like a firecracker. Now as you can see, this method is definitely messy, but it also really did put out the fire, meaning overall, I don't see why I should not give this the thumbs up. The next product is this 20-watt socket panel that comes with 2 retractable USB-C cables and 2 USB ports, all for a price of €27, which still seems reasonable. This was actually a suggestion from my Discord server, and after reading through the product description, I was certainly intrigued, but also confused. I mean, it is 55% faster, in comparison to what? And of course, only according to their own tests. It also seems to come with only inputs, and pretty much all electrical ratings on the product packaging are different than on the actual products. Great! But you know, maybe it performs fantastic, and to find that out, I firstly want to replace a normal outlet in my house with it. The first thing I didn't like though were these screw connectors, and the second more important flaw was that this thing does not fit into a standard size wall junction box. I mean, these things are common here in Germany, and it simply does not fit. But anyway, the good news is that all USB cables and ports do their job just fine. And the length of the retractable cable is around 71 cm, which is close to what they promise. For more extensive tests, I went back to my workbench though. And oh boy, this was a mixed bag. Now at first I was happy to see that each output offered the promised voltages and current limits. But while doing my first max current tests, one output basically tapped out, and I could not get it to turn on again. I even tried turning everything off and on again, which did not help. Eventually though, later during testing, the output magically became active again, for whatever reason. But besides this weird stuff, it seems like we can really output a total of 20 watt with this power supply. The voltage ripple does look okay, the efficiency is also okay, and after opening this thing up, the circuit also seems to be okay. Yeah, this is honestly really nothing special, and overall, when putting all the things together, I would not really recommend it. And that brings us to the third product, which is this nail gun set that I got for around €12. Pretty cheap, I would say. Now personally speaking, I feel like here in Germany we pretty much always use an electric drill and screws for everything. We rarely use nails. I mean, I even had problems finding one in my garage. But whenever I watch American YouTubers, I'm always fascinated by their nail guns. So I was curious whether such a hand-operated one would be useful to have around. I mean, to use it, all you have to do is to put in one of the included nails and push down, which really scared me the first time I did that.
Whoa!
The force to drive them in comes from the small explosive, meaning these are all special nails, which can get expensive over time to restock. And initially I kind of hated this nail gun, because it seems like something always got stuck. Eventually though I realized that you can simply spit out the remains of the last nail. And at this point, this thing was super easy to use. According to the product description, it can go through concrete, brick wall, steel and wood, which I can pretty much all confirm, except maybe extra thick steel. The only thing I didn't like about this tool is that fine adjusting the strength is done by removing these screws here, and it is always very hard to judge how hard this thing will fire, which can lead to some pretty ugly results. But besides that, I kind of like it, and it might be useful in the future. Moving on though to this SenseCap Watcher that I discovered accidentally, and which you can get for around €62. Not cheap at all. But according to its product description, it seems to be some sort of AI assistant that supports large language models. It can be used with Home Assistant to automate stuff, and some other fun sounding things. So I had to give it a try, and after unpacking, it was initially pretty straightforward to set up by connecting it to the internet. Afterwards though, I had to scan the QR code for the manual to find out how to set this thing up on the internet. And just like that, we basically got an AI chatbot that worked surprisingly well and answered super quickly. However, I was more interested in the Home Assistant part, and as it turns out, that requires quite a bit of setup and apparently extra hardware. And interacting with other software using MCP also required quite a bit of setup. The only thing that worked quickly and out of the box were some AI image models. So all in all, I'm kind of to blame here for not checking the wiki of this thing before ordering. But I still have to give it the thumbs down, because it was not what I was hoping for. And that brings us finally to the mini smoke machine, that comes in a nice case for a bargain price of €51. Quite expensive. The way this works is that you firstly insert some fog juice into it, which is by the way not included and costs extra. And then you turn it on, push this button, and just like magic you got smoke. However, it is not recommended to do this longer than 10 seconds, which is understandable, because this thing gets pretty hot and apparently uses a bit of power, which is why I pretty quickly had to recharge the battery. And overall, this thing seems to do its job just fine, and the smoke is honestly not half bad, and definitely usable for a few things. But of course, as always, as a last check, I took this thing apart, and the inside certainly does look a bit hacked together, with different boards and components. But the only big red flag I see here is that the coil that heats up the fog juice is not replaceable. And that sucks, because it can happen pretty quickly that such a coil simply breaks. So overall, it is a thumbs down from me. And that brings us to the last product, which is something colorful and fun, at least according to the product description of this flying ball children toy that you can get for, let's just say, super cheap. And initially I was actually excited to try this out, but after turning it on, I started to get worried. You see, not only is this thing kind of loud, which is of course muted in the product videos, but it is also going super fast. So I was worried that if a kid got in there, it would get hurt. But to my positive surprise, I think it does not have enough power to do that. And the housing also seems bouncy and safe enough for this kind of job. And you also get a small remote to turn it on and off. So let's take it for a spin outside, and overall I can say it can fly back like a boomerang, but only if you got the skills, which I don't. It was still fun to play around with, and after around 5 minutes the battery was empty, which meant time for a 30-minute recharge, which I used to take apart one of these things. And yeah, everything seems safe enough and suitable for the price. Meaning, all in all, I would give this thing the thumbs up. And just like that, we covered 6 more interesting products. And this time, it was a 50-50 tie for me. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out boot.dev. And like always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Stay creative, and I will see you next time.